The rain had long stopped, but the smell of burnt wood still clung to the air like an old scar. Elias Crane stood where his barn used to be, his single arm hanging limp at his side. The other, lost years ago to a steel harvester accident, still ached phantom pains whenever the wind changed. The fire had eaten everything, his crops, his livestock, and what little hope he'd managed to keep after losing his arm. Now, all he had left was a patch of scorched earth and the ghosts of what could have been. The ad. It started as a joke. He was in town, sitting at a dusty terminal in the post office when he saw the ad blinking on the Galactic Trade Board. Companionship program for outer colony farmers. Hybrid partners available. Guaranteed loyalty, domestic skills, and genetic compatibility. Apply now. He scoffed. Alien mail-order brides, he muttered. What's next, a robot priest? But the cursor hovered anyway. He hadn't spoken to a woman in years. Not since Marla left. His friends had said she'd been tired of living like a widow since Elias couldn't work the fields anymore. Maybe they were right. Maybe he was a widow just of his own luck. So that night, with a bottle of rust whiskey in his good hand and bitterness in his heart, Elias filled out the form. Under preference, he simply wrote. Quiet, strong, doesn't mind dirt. Then he went to bed, never expecting anything to come of it. The arrival. 2 months later, a ship descended into the valley, gleaming silver beneath the sun. The ground trembled as it landed in the ashes of his old barn. A hiss of air escaped, and the door opened. Out stepped a woman, or something close to one. She was tall, with pale lavender skin and dark eyes that shimmered like oil in water. Her hair was silver, braided in loops around her neck. She wore a plain travel robe and no jewelry, though the way she carried herself made her seem like royalty. Elias Crane, she asked softly. Her accent was melodic, like a song played underwater. That's me, he said, squinting. You the, bride? She inclined her head. My name is Lira, registered companion of the Outer Marin program. Well, Lira, Elias said, scratching his neck awkwardly. Hope you like dirt and disappointment. That's about all I can offer. Her eyes scanned the ruined fields, the blackened remains of his barn, and then him, his scarred face and missing arm. Yet she didn't flinch. I have seen worse, she said, and I have rebuilt worse. Elias raised an eyebrow. You any good with a hammer? Better than most, she replied. The rebuilding. Over the next few weeks, Lyra worked beside him from dawn until the twin moons rose. She didn't complain, didn't tire, didn't even seem to sweat. Her alien physiology made her stronger than she looked. She could lift beams he struggled to drag. With her help, the barn skeleton began to rise again. Elias found himself watching her more often than he meant to. The way her eyes caught the sunset. The way she hummed softly while she worked. A strange tune that reminded him of wind through glass. You don't talk much, he said one evening as they sat on the porch, watching fireflies blink over the empty field. She tilted her head. I was made to listen more than speak. He chuckled. You weren't made, Lyra. You're a person. She looked at him strangely, as if he'd said something profound. Most humans do not think so. Well, Elias muttered, taking a sip of tea, most humans are idiots. She smiled faintly, and that was the first time he saw warmth on her face. The fire debt, but rebuilding wasn't cheap. Elias still owed the supply company for lumber, nails, and fertilizer. One day, a foreman from Lasker Industries came riding in an air truck, his boots kicking up dust as he stepped out. You still behind on your payment, Crane, he barked. You got 3 days. After that, we take the land. Elias clenched his jaw. You'll have your money. The man sneered. You had your chance. Maybe your alien woman can pay us in some other way. Before Elias could move, Lyra was standing between them. Her pupils flared with light, and the foreman staggered back as if shoved by invisible hands. You will leave, she said, her voice layered with echoes. Now. He scrambled back into his truck and fled, without another word. Elias stared. What the hell was that? Lyra turned away. Nothing you need fear. But her hands were trembling. The secret. That night. He found her sitting by the river behind the house, her robe glowing faintly in the starlight. Lyra, he said quietly, I'm grateful for what you've done, but I need the truth. Who are you really? She looked at him for a long time, then sighed. My people are not from the Marin colonies. We come from Aurelian Prime, a world of oceans and light. I was not born a worker or a companion. I was heir to a trading dynasty. Elias blinked. You're rich? Was, she corrected softly. My family's fleet was destroyed during the Targon Wars. I escaped using false credentials. The bride program was a way to hide among humans. He stared at her, speechless. You could have gone anywhere, he finally said. Why come here? To a crippled farmer with nothing? Lyra met his gaze steadily. Because when you filled out your request, you did not ask for beauty or servitude. You asked for someone who did not mind dirt. That was honest. Elias swallowed hard. You shouldn't have to live like this. Neither should you, she whispered. The investment. The next morning, she disappeared. Elias searched the farm, calling her name until dusk, just when panic began to claw at his chest. A bright streak lit the horizon. A small craft descended near the field. Lyra stepped out, followed by 2 metallic drones carrying seal crates. What's all this? Elias asked, bewildered. Liquid assets, she said simply. Gold composites. Family reserves I kept hidden on an orbital vault. Enough to rebuild, and then some. He shook his head. Lyra, I can't take that. You're not taking, she said. You're rebuilding. For both of us. Before he could argue, she pressed a glowing seal into his palm. Consider this my dowry. The metal hummed faintly, merging with the lines of his skin. The rebirth. Months passed, and the farm bloomed again, greener, richer, more alive than before. Lyra installed alien irrigation systems that ran on solar vapor, turning barren land fertile overnight. Crops grew taller and healthier than Elias had ever seen. Traders from nearby towns came by from him, calling his fields the Miracle Valley. And yet, the true miracle was quieter. Elias laughed again. He stopped drinking. His arm still hurt, but now it was a reminder of survival, not loss. And Lyra, she stayed, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. One night, under the golden light of the twin moons, Elias said softly, Lyra, I don't know what to call this. What we are. She smiled, touching his hand. Call it home. He leaned closer, and for the first time in years, the ache in his chest faded. The return. But peace never lasts forever. One afternoon, a foreign ship appeared above the horizon. Sleek and black, bearing the emblem of the Aurelian dynasty. A regal-looking alien stepped out, flanked by guards. Princess Lyra, he declared, bowing. Your exile is over. The council restored your inheritance. We have come to bring you home. Elias felt his stomach drop. Lyra looked between them, her people, her past, and the man who'd stood beside her through ruin and fire. She walked forward slowly. I no longer have a home among the stars, she said. My home is here on this soil. The emissary's jaw tightened. You would choose this human over your throne? Lyra smiled faintly. I have already made my choice. The emissary hesitated, then bowed again. As you wish, princess. When their ship lifted off, it left behind a shimmering capsule, a gift of farewell. Inside was a small fortune in crystalline credits, glowing softly like captured starlight. Lyra turned to Elias. It seems my people still remember debt. He laughed, shaking his head. Guess that means we're rich now. She looked at him seriously. No, it means we're free. Epilogue. Years later, the Crane Farm became the most prosperous settlement in the valley. Travelers told tales of the one-armed farmer and his alien wife who turned ashes into gold. On clear nights, Elias would sit on the porch, arm around Lyra, watching their hybrid crops sway in the wind. Part human, part alien, but fully alive. I used to think I was cursed, he said once. Losing everything, losing my arm. But maybe I just had to lose enough to make space for you. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder. Sometimes, she whispered, the universe burns what we have so it can plant something better. The wind carried her words through the fields, rustling leaves that glowed faintly under the moonlight. Proof that from ruin, love had truly taken root.